Grisly crimes from past. Murdered for kicks. Richard Loeb and Nathan Leopold were members of wealthy Chicago families. 18-year-old Loeb was the son of the vice president of Sears, Roebuck and Company, giants in the field of mail-order merchandise, while Leopold, 19, came from a similarly prosperous background. Both were intelligent, neither needed the money. Yet, on 21st of May 1924, they committed a stupid and brutal murder. The ostensible motive was $10,000 ransom. The truth was they did it for kicks. The two youths enjoyed a weird relationship. Both were admirers of Nietzsche's philosophy, which taught that some people are supermen, not to be shackled by conventional morality. The suave Richard Loeb considered himself one of these elect, and the shorter, weak-sighted Nathan Leopold was happy to describe himself as his friend's slave. It was Loeb who conceived the idea of the murder, a perfect crime without motive, committed for the thrill of breaking the ultimate taboo. The ransom arrangements would all be invented to throw the authorities off the scent. 14-year-old Bobby Franks, son of a millionaire Chicago businessman, became their victim. The killers invited him into a car, which Leopold drove while Loeb clubbed the boy to death. The naked body was subsequently hidden in a culvert on some waste ground near a railway line, and acid was poured over the face to make it unidentifiable. Afterwards, the killers telephoned the boy's mother, posing as kidnappers, and sent a typewritten ransom note signed George Johnson, giving instructions on how the money should be paid. It turned out to be far from perfect crime. The body was quickly discovered and identified without trouble, despite the disfiguring acid. Spectacles found near the scene were traced through oculist record to Leopold, who offered a very weak story for their presence there. Then he was asked about his typewriter. The ransom note had been tapped out on an Underwood portable, and Leopold denied possessing such a machine, but it was soon discovered that he had loaned his typewriter to some fellow students. When located, it was identified as the machine which had typed this ransom note. Meanwhile, Loeb had made himself conspicuous during routine inquiries among wealthy Chicago families by being over-talkative and helpful about the murder inquiry. He was known to be a close friend of Leopold, and under persistent questioning, the Superman broke down and fully confessed. What more callous murder could possibly be committed? The case outraged public opinion in the United States, and there were loud calls for the death penalty to be applied. Indeed, it was executed that the two youths would be expected, until Clarence Darrow took on the case for the defense. A humanitarian and social reformer, the great Clarence Seward Darrow was passionately opposed to capital punishment. He was also a brilliant lawyer, so brilliant that during his entire career, only one out of the 50-odd people he defended on charges of first-degree murder was ever executed. Darrow was basically a pessimist. "We all know life is futile," he once wrote. A man who considers that his life is of very wonderful importance is awfully close to a padded cell. But out of that pessimist, he drew strength. Life might be futile, but people could, through hope and reason, invent a kind of sense for it. The trial took place in July 1924. Darrow asked for mitigations on grounds of reduced responsibility and mental illness. How, he asked, could an act so bad not be mad? By what standards could the crime of Leopold and Loeb be described as the mark of sane young men? It is a paradox that has often been raised since in the cases of infamous murderers, but it carried no great legal weight. More to their advantage was the sheer youth of Darrow's client. Teenage violence and juvenile delinquency were not yet familiar concepts, capable of hardening adult attitudes. Leopold and Loeb seemed so very young, with so much of their lives before them. In an impassioned speech which spanned 2 days, Darrow quoted freely from literature on the horror of youth meeting death on the scaffold. He quoted from Omar Khayyam and from A. Hausman, or rather, in Hausman's case, he misquoted, as the poet himself testily complained. And at the end of the sensational murder trial, his pleas saved 2 young men. The judge passed sentence of life imprisonment for murder, with 99 years on the kidnapping charge. Richard Loeb was killed in 1936 during a prison brawl. Nathan Leopold served 33 years of his sentence before, amid some controversy, he was paroled in 1958. He married and lived in Puerto Rico, dying in 1971, having written a book about his experience. If you have enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and leave a comment, as it helps with YouTube algorithm to grow this channel. You will find similar contents in my other video. Have a safe day. Signing off.